NASCAR told Cleetus McFarland he could not race at Talladega. They blocked him from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and sent him home. So what did he do? He showed up anyway, started dead last in the ARCA race, led laps for the very first time in his career, and came within one corner of winning the whole thing. This is how a YouTuber nearly broke Talladega. Before we get into the race itself, you need to understand why this day meant so much to Cleetus. He did not show up at Talladega just to have fun. He showed up with a mission. Cleetus McFarland wanted to win this race for Greg Biffle, a NASCAR Cup Series driver, one of the most respected names in the sport, and Cleetus's close personal friend. Tragically, Greg Biffle passed away in a plane crash in December 2025, and Cleetus carried that weight to Talladega. He wanted to cross the finish line first and hold that win up for his friend. That is the only reason he was there, and NASCAR had already tried to stop him once. Here is something most people missed. NASCAR did not want Cleetus McFarland in that race weekend at all. He applied to compete in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series at Talladega, and NASCAR flat out denied him. They claimed they had not seen enough from him on superspeedways. Just a no. So Cleetus found another door. The ARCA Menards Series race was on the same weekend, same track, same superspeedway. He entered that instead. NASCAR could not stop him twice. And now, with his friend's memory on his mind and a starting spot from P20, Cleetus McFarland strapped in and got ready to prove something. Keep that in mind as this race unfolds, because by the end of it, you will understand exactly why he called it the greatest race he has ever been part of. Gio Ruggiero pulled to the front from pole position and led the field into the opening laps. Cleetus started 20th, dead in the back. At a normal track, starting P20 is almost a death sentence for your race result. You need clean air, track position, and time to work forward. It can take the whole race just to crack the top 10. Talladega is not a normal track. At a superspeedway, everything moves in packs. If you have the right car and you are willing to be aggressive, you can slice through the field in just a few laps. Cleetus did exactly that. By the time the race settled into its rhythm, he had already broken into the top 10 and locked himself into P7. Not bad for a guy who was not even supposed to be at the track that weekend. But P7 was not the goal. He needed the win. The first caution flew on lap 30 when Allie Owens crashed. The field stacked up. Everyone headed to pit road. And when the restart penalties hit Jack Wood and Taylor Reimer, the running order reshuffled. When the dust cleared, Cleetus McFarland was sitting in second place, right on the bumper of Ruggiero. One car away from the lead. Here is where it gets serious. On the restart, Cleetus went door-to-door with Ruggiero. Two cars side by side at over 180 miles per hour, neither one willing to give an inch. Then Daniel Dye gave Cleetus a push from behind. That was all he needed. Cleetus McFarland surged past Ruggiero and took the lead for the first time in his entire ARCA Menards Series career. Let that sit for a second. A YouTuber who was rejected by NASCAR earlier in the same weekend was now leading laps at Talladega Superspeedway. He held that lead. Ruggiero fought back on the outside on the next restart, but drifted too wide. Cleetus read it perfectly, cut back underneath him, and retook the point. By the time all was said and done, Cleetus McFarland led 12 laps total. 12 laps at Talladega. For a guy making noise on YouTube a few years ago. But stay with me, because the race is about to turn into something nobody saw coming. Racing at Talladega never stays clean for long. While Cleetus was battling at the front, he made contact with Jake Bowman. The hit turned Bowman around and sent him sliding back through the field. Cleetus dropped from the lead to 5th. Isabella Robusto took over at the front. Then things got worse for the whole field. Will Kimmel pushed Thomas Annunziata on the outside line. Annunziata got turned directly into Ruggiero. The two cars made contact, and just like that, the big one broke out. Cars scattered everywhere. The whole back of the field was getting collected in a chain reaction crash. Cleetus had one shot to survive it. He threaded the needle. While cars were spinning and slamming into each other all around him, Cleetus found the one gap in the wreckage and drove straight through it clean. His friend and fellow YouTuber, Squirrel McNutt, was not so lucky. Squirrel got collected in the crash, and his day was done. Cleetus survived, and the red flag came out. The track crew went to work cleaning everything up, Multiple cars were damaged, several were done for the day. And when the race was set to restart, the officials made a decision that changed everything. One lap to decide the whole race. This is the moment the whole day came down to. One lap, no second chances, no way to make up ground if you got it wrong. Isabella Robusto led the field for the final restart. Ruggiero was in trouble with damage and fell back quickly. Kimmel had damage too, but pushed forward anyway, briefly grabbing the lead before fading. That opened the door. Gus Dean and Cleetus McFarland charged through together, side by side, 2 cars, 1 corner, and a finish line waiting at the end of it. They were racing for the win, for the lead, for everything. And right there, in that final corner, the 2 cars touched. It was not a big hit, but it did not need to be. At that speed, any contact scrubs momentum. Both cars lost just a fraction of speed. That fraction was enough. Andy Jankowiak, who had stayed clean and kept his car in position the whole lap, came sweeping around on the outside. By the time Cleetus and Dean were done battling each other, Jankowiak was already gone. Cleetus crossed the line in second, Dean was third, Isabella Robusto was fourth. Andy Jankowiak won the race. In his post-race interview, Cleetus did not make excuses. He broke down exactly what happened. I think I needed to back up a smidge to get that help that was behind me. I kind of left the 71 and tried to go down. I did not have enough room to get past. We started beating each other up, and then Andy passed us for the W. Congratulations to him. What an insane day of racing. He knew what went wrong. He needed to wait for the push from behind instead of trying to force his way past Dean on his own. The gap was not there. He went for it anyway, and Jankowiak punished them both for it. Clean racing. Smart positioning. That is how you win a 1-lap dash at Talladega. Jankowiak did it perfectly. Cleetus almost did. But here is the part of the interview that nobody who was watching could forget. Cleetus looked at the FOX crew and said, "Honestly, probably the most fun I have ever had with clothes on. It was freaking insane. Talladega!" The whole broadcast crew laughed. But underneath the joke, you could hear it. This man loved every single second of that race. He also called it the greatest race he has ever been part of. Not a race he watched, not a race he heard about. A race he was inside, leading laps, fighting for the win, threading through wrecks, and coming within 1 corner of taking it all. Remember where this day started. NASCAR said no. They blocked Cleetus McFarland from competing in the race he wanted. They shut the door on him before the weekend even began. He found another door, walked through it, started 20th, and finished second at Talladega Superspeedway. He led 12 laps, career first, in a race where the best drivers in the ARCA field were trying to do the same thing. He survived the big one when his friend Squirrel McNutt did not. He raced for Greg Biffle, and while the win did not come, he gave everything he had to make it happen. And when it was over, he did not sit in the car and feel sorry for himself. He climbed out, did his interview, laughed with the FOX crew, and told anyone who would listen that Talladega is the greatest race on earth. He meant it, because Cleetus McFarland was not just along for the ride at Talladega. He was a legitimate contender, and he lost by 1 corner to a driver who executed a perfect move at the perfect time. That is not embarrassing. That is racing. So when Cleetus McFarland calls Talladega the greatest race, he is not talking about the event in general. He is not talking about history or tradition or the famous banking in the corners. He is talking about what it felt like to be in that car, on that track, on that final lap, fighting for a win he had promised to a friend who was no longer here to watch it. He almost won it, and that almost, at Talladega, in honor of Greg Biffle, is exactly why this was the greatest race Cleetus McFarland has ever been part of.